This right here is one of the best sugarcane farms in Minecraft, giving you over 10,000 sugarcane per hour, and if you wanted to, you could expand it even further for even higher rates. So, in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to build it yourself, super easy, and I'm also going to show you a smaller version of it in case you don't have that many resources to spare. Let's jump right into it. But alright. Before we get into the very big version of the farm, I first want to quickly go over how to make the quote-unquote standard sugarcane farm. These right here are the items that you need to build it. First of all, we put down a loot chest and then a row of hoppers all pointing into it. You can theoretically make it as long as you want. For this example right here, I'm going to use 15 hoppers because 15 is exactly the length of one redstone signal. Then, on top of the hoppers, we want to place down mud blocks, because mud blocks are the only material that you can both grow sugarcane on, but also hoppers can pick up items right through it. Next, because sugarcane needs adjacent water to grow, we make a little bit of a platform next to mud blocks, just like I show right here, and then fill it up with water. If you want to, then you can now already put down the sugarcane on top of the mud blocks. Up next, build a row of blocks over the water and place a row of pistons on top of these blocks. The pistons need to face towards the sugarcane so that they can later be used to harvest it. Behind the pistons then, we want to build another row of blocks and place down a line of redstone on top of it. Finally, on top of the pistons, you want to place down a row of observers in the way that the redstone end points towards the line of redstone which is made, and the front, the quote-unquote observing part, points towards the sugarcane. Finally, all we gotta do is put a glass wall in the front so that the sugarcane doesn't fall out of the farm. You technically don't even need glass, you can use any block of your choice, but I just like to look into the farm. The way this whole thing now works is, if the sugarcane grows so high that it gets in front of the observer is going to notice that and create a redstone signal, and through the redstone line, activate every single piston under it, harvesting the sugarcane, which is then going to fall down on top of the mud blocks, picked up by the hoppers, and transported into the chest. And as always, if you could leave a quick like for the video, that would be super nice because it helps me big time with the YouTube algorithm, especially on smaller channels like mine. Thank you so much for your support. What we just built is the most common and the most quote-unquote standard version of a sugarcane farm. However, this design has some big problems. First of all, there's the thing that you need mud blocks for it. No other block that sugarcane can grow on allows for hoppers to pull items right through it. And as we all know, mud blocks only appear in mangrove swamps, so if you get unlucky with your seed, that is really bad. Problem number 2 with this farm is that all pistons always activate at the same time. If only one sugarcane grows high enough, every other one is going to be harvested too, and that is inefficient because it resets the growth timer of all the sugarcane in the farm. So instead, in an ideal scenario, we only ever want to harvest one sugarcane at a time. I've actually seen a very informative video by Rybo on this. You should definitely check it out later. And then finally, problem number 3 is, you need a whole lot of hoppers to build this. On the one hand, that means a lot of iron investment, but even worse, if you want to scale this farm design up, it can cause a lot of lag, especially if you play on a server. As you can see, quite a lot of things to fix here, so let's make a better and more efficient version of this. Beforehand though, if you want to see more easy step-by-step guides on how to make great Minecraft farms, then you might want to think about maybe leaving the channel a sub and joining the crew because there is so much more to come. Welcome on board! But alright, let's finally build a great and efficient sugarcane farm. Also for this version, these right here would be the items that you need to build it. First off, we start out by placing down a chest and then behind it a hopper pointing into it. This is where the loot is gonna end up going. Then, from the side of the hopper, you want to place down 16 normal building blocks in both directions. Technically, you could make it even longer if you want to, but I think 16 is a good middle ground. Then, make the whole thing 5 blocks wide in total, and also put down the 33 building blocks on the back. Now, you should have a base of 5 by 33 blocks. Up next, we want to add some redstone blocks because our intention here is to make a minecart rail circuit. The way I usually do it is place 2 redstone blocks all the way on the sides and then 4 more somewhere in between. The only thing you gotta make sure is to not put the redstone blocks right next to your hopper, as that would block it from dropping any items. And speaking of hoppers, we now also want to make a little row of hoppers through the middle so that they're all pointing towards the loot chest. That being done now, we can finally place down the rails all around. Just make sure to put the normal rails onto the normal building blocks and the powered redstone rails on top of the redstone blocks. Up next, what we want to do is place down blocks in the 3-block gap between the rails all the way from the left of the farm to the right. It should now look something like this. Then we want to put dirt blocks over the rails on both sides, just leave out the last block at the very edge. On top of these dirt blocks, we're later going to place down the sugarcane. Finally, close up the edges with normal building blocks on the left and the right, and then put down water all the way into the middle of the farm that we just built. The next step would be to cover the water with another layer of building blocks 3 blocks wide all the way from the left to the right of the farm. Now, it's time to place down our pistons again, which you will do on both sides on top of the blocks that we just built. If you did it right, you should now have 2 rows of pistons, both facing to the outsides, with a 1-block gap in the middle between them. Into this gap, you now want to make one long line of redstone. Also, for this design here, we're going to use observers, which means we're not going to place down 2 big rows of observers on top of the pistons. My personal tip would be place them down while standing in the middle between the pistons. This way you're making sure that the redstone part is going to point towards you and the observing part is going to point outwards. But okay, up next comes our little trick. Remember how in the beginning of the video I said it's not efficient if one observer triggers all the pistons around it if only one sugarcane grows up? Well, we can actually solve that pretty easily by just making it the way that we did here, with the redstone at the bottom behind the pistons, and then all we need to do is place down a normal row of building blocks at the top between the observers. What this does now is, if a sugarcane grows up and triggers an observer, that observer is only ever going to activate the one piston below it. But okay, now that the whole redstone part is done, all we need to do to finish up the farm is place down sugarcane on top of all the dirt blocks around, and also here, close the whole front off with a glass wall. Then on the rail below it, we're going to place down one hopper minecart, which will then constantly drive around in circles and pick up all the sugarcane drops that land on the dirt. The, by the way, reason why we can use normal dirt here and don't need mud blocks is that in contrast to normal hoppers, hopper minecarts can pick up items through basically every block. But now, before we end the video, let's also talk about how we can upscale this farm to its massive version that I showed in the intro, giving you over 10,000 sugarcane per hour. And the way we do this is actually pretty simple. What we built so far in the last chapter, that is one segment of the farm. What you can do now is just stack multiple of these segments on top of each other. Just one little adjustment. Instead of having one chest at the bottom with one hopper pointing into it, you now want to make a whole column of hoppers like this right here to make sure that the loot from every layer of this farm will be able to drop into our loot chest at the bottom. So far, so good. You now have one ginormous sugarcane tower. But, of course, we can do much more, and that is take this whole sugarcane tower and put multiple of them right next to each other. This way, you boost the rates even crazier, and that is also then what's going to end you up at the version of the farm you saw in the intro. However, also here, there is one minor adjustment that we need to make, and that is, instead of having one loot chest at the bottom of every single tower, we're now going to delete all the chests and just put one big chest at the side of the whole thing, and then build one row of hoppers all the way at the bottom through the middle that is going to point into our big loot chest. Just as a side note here, yes, I did say having too many hoppers can cause lag, especially on servers, but the problem here is that this version of the farm produces such crazy amounts of sugarcane that having a minecart rail at the bottom would just not be able to pick all of it up. That is why we need to have this row of hoppers at the very bottom. And now check out this super easy iron farm next to get all the iron that you need for this build right here. See you next time, and until then, craft well.